Commander Vreck stared at the incident report on his datapad, and then he stared at it some more because surely the universe was not about to ruin his perfectly boring Tuesday afternoon with this nonsense. The words glowed back at him with all the enthusiasm of a cosmic middle finger. Unauthorized power grid, modifications, Section 7, Engineering Bay 12, suspect, human female, Maya Torres, human. Of course it was a human. Vreck had been station security commander for exactly 8 cycles, and in those 8 cycles, he had dealt with precisely 0 humans. He had watched them from afar like one might observe a particularly energetic species of tropical bird. Colorful, loud, and probably capable of biting your finger off if you got too close. He had read the human behavioral manuals. All 17 volumes. He had attended the mandatory sensitivity training. He had even practiced the pronunciation of their ridiculous Earth names in front of a mirror. And now, 3 weeks after the human engineering team arrived on Sentinel Station Kappa, he was getting incident reports. He looked up at his second-in-command, Officer Thrall, who had delivered this delightful piece of news with the expression of someone who had just stepped in something unpleasant. "How bad?" Vreck asked, though he already knew he would hate the answer. "Sir, she bypassed 4 safety protocols, rerouted power conduits through the waste recycling system, and apparently, installed something she calls a, quote, efficiency booster, unquote, into the primary distribution node." Thrall's mandibles clicked nervously. The node that feeds life support to 40% of the station. Vreck closed all 3 of his eyes. Life support. Yes, sir. 40%. Yes, sir. And she boosted it. According to her station logs, yes, sir. Vreck opened his eyes again and looked at the security roster. 5 names blinked back at him. 5 guards. That seemed reasonable for one human female. Right? The manual said humans were fragile, soft, easily contained. The manuals also said humans were creative problem solvers with an alarming disregard for personal safety. But Vreck chose to focus on the fragile part right now. "Assemble Team 3, he said, standing up and straightening his uniform. "Full restraint gear. We are bringing her in for questioning before she accidentally kills us all with her efficiency." Thrall saluted and scurried off. Vreck grabbed his shock baton and wondered if it was too late to request a transfer to literally anywhere else in the galaxy. The 5-guard team moved through the corridor like they were approaching a live explosive device, which, given what they had heard about humans, might actually be more comforting. Officer Thrall led the group, checking his restraint cuffs for the 3rd time in as many minutes. Behind him, guards Norvik, Plex, Jessun and Kodo followed in formation, each one looking progressively more nervous than the last. "Remember," Thrall whispered, because apparently whispering made this whole situation less terrifying. "Humans respond poorly to aggressive posturing. The manual says we should be firm but non-threatening. The manual also says they can lift 7 times their body weight when frightened." Norvik added helpfully. "Something about adrenaline and survival instincts." "That is not helping," Plex hissed, adjusting his shock baton. Kodo, the youngest of the group, checked his scanner. "She is definitely still in there. Energy readings are, odd though. There is a lot of activity." "Define odd," Vreck demanded. "Like she is either performing complex calculations or making lunch. The heat signatures are confusing," Jessun snorted. "Maybe she is doing both. The human I met in the cafeteria last week was eating something called a sandwich while simultaneously arguing about quantum mechanics with 3 different people. They are terrible at focusing on one thing." They rounded the corner and Engineering Bay 12 loomed ahead. Through the transparent sections of the door they could see movement, flashes of light and what appeared to be a small cloud of steam. "Is that normal?" Norvik asked. "Nothing about this is normal," Vreck muttered. He squared his shoulders, activated his comm badge and prepared to sound authoritative. "All right, people. We go in fast, we announce her violations clearly. We apply restraints if necessary, and we escort her to holding. Simple, clean, professional." "Sir, should we have our weapons set to stun or just hold them for show?" Kodo asked. Vreck considered this. "Show. Definitely just for show. The last thing we need is an intergalactic incident because we accidentally zapped their engineer." He took a breath, pressed the door panel and the bay doors slid open with a cheerful hiss. What happened next would haunt him for the rest of his career. The security team burst through the door with all the dramatic authority they could muster, weapons raised, postures aggressive, ready for anything, literally anything except what they got. Maya Torres, you are under arrest for unauthorized modifications to station infrastructure and Vreck trailed off because the human was smiling at them. Not a nervous smile. Not a guilty smile. Not even an apologetic smile. A friendly smile. Oh yeah guys, perfect timing. Maya turned away from a workbench covered in tools, wiring and what appeared to be a small appliance that definitely did not belong in an engineering bay. I just put on a fresh pot. You want some coffee? Fair warning though. Station water tastes like recycled sadness. But I have been working on that too. Vreck blinked. All three eyes independently because his brain could not coordinate them properly. Did she just? Norvik whispered. Offer us coffee, Plex finished. Equally baffled. Maya was already moving, completely ignoring the 5 armed guards who had just announced her arrest. She grabbed a strange cylindrical container, the source of the steam they had seen from outside, and started pouring dark liquid into several small cups. Sorry, I only have 5 mugs that are not currently holding screws or solvents, so somebody is going to have to share or drink from a beaker. I promise the beaker is clean though. Mostly clean. Clean enough. She held up a piece of laboratory glassware with visible measurement marks on the side. Kato lowered his weapon slightly. What is coffee? Oh buddy, you are in for a treat, Maya said, her grin widening. Coffee is liquid motivation. It is concentrated life force. It is the reason humans conquered space instead of just sleeping until noon every day. She thrust a mug toward Thrall, who took it reflexively before remembering he was supposed to be arresting her. We are not here for beverages, Vreck said, trying to regain control of the situation. You are in violation of Galactic Station Regulation 4-7-23 subsection B, unauthorized modification of critical systems. Yeah, I know. Maya interrupted, taking a sip from her own mug. But see, here is the thing. I really want you guys to hear me out on this. The station power grid was designed by someone who apparently learned engineering from a blindfolded child with a box of random parts. She said this while leaning casually against her workbench, surrounded by evidence of her crimes, drinking her coffee like she was chatting with friends at a social gathering instead of 5 increasingly confused security officers. Jessin looked at Vreck. Vreck looked at Thrall. Thrall looked at the coffee in his hand. Sir, Thrall said slowly. What do we do? I have no idea, Vreck admitted, because his training had not prepared him for cheerful cooperation mixed with complete disregard for authority. Maya took another sip. So, coffee? Yes? No? I have sugar substitute if anyone needs it. No milk though. Sorry. The replicator keeps making it taste like paste. Look, I know what the report says, Maya continued, setting down her mug and pulling up a holographic display that made half the guards flinch. Unauthorized modifications, safety violations, blah blah blah. But before you haul me off to space jail or whatever, can I just show you what I actually did? Because I promise it is way less scary than it sounds. We are not interested in. Vreck started. So, first problem. Maya talked, right over him. Zooming in on a schematic. Your primary power distribution node, the one feeding life support, environmental controls, gravity plating, you know, the important stuff, was running at 62% efficiency. 60, do you know what that means? She did not wait for an answer. It means 38% of your power was just, poof, vanishing into the void like my paycheck every month. And why? Because some genius, and I use that term very loosely, decided to route everything through a single junction point that was designed for a station 1/3 this size. She grabbed the coffee pot and refilled her mug without pausing. Anyone? Coffee? No? More for me that. Norvik was staring at the hologram. Wait, that junction handles all of Section 7. Yes. Thank you, someone is paying attention, Maya pointed at him enthusiastically. See? Your friend gets it. That junction is choking harder than I did the first time I tried Vorgian spice noodles. No offense if anyone here is Vorgian. I am Vorgian, Jessin said quietly. The noodles were great. The spice level was attempted murder, Maya clarified. Anyway, so I rerouted the secondary conduits. See here, through the waste processing system, and this is the fun part. Nobody was using those thermal exchange channels. They were just sitting there empty, doing nothing, like my dating life back on Earth. Plex had somehow ended up holding a mug of coffee. He could not remember accepting it, but there it was, warm in his hands. He took a small sip. His eyes widened. This is amazing, he whispered. Right? Maya beamed at him. You say a thermal exchange channels. I ran new power lines through them, installed buffer nodes at every third junction. See right here, she zoomed in further, and then I added the efficiency booster, which is really just a load balancer with a fancy name, but it sounds cooler. And now your power distribution is running at 94% efficiency. Vreck felt a headache forming behind his primary eye. You bypassed 4 safety protocols. Outdated protocols designed for technology from like 50 years ago, yeah, Maya said, waving dismissively. Your safety systems were so old, they were basically safety suggestions. I upgraded those too. See, this is an automatic shutoff valve. And this? Redundant backup relay. And this beauty right here? Surge protector that actually works instead of just making sad beeping noises when things go wrong. She was pacing now, gesturing wildly with her coffee mug, and the guards had unconsciously formed a semicircle around the hologram, watching her presentation like students in a lecture hall. The waste recycling system, Thrall began, is completely unaffected, still running nominal. I checked it 6 times because I am not about to be the human who broke the space toilets. That is a reputation that follows you forever, Maya said. Plus I installed monitoring sensors that will alert maintenance if anything even thinks about going wrong. You are welcome, by the way. Kodo raised his hand like he was in class. Can I try the coffee? Vreck wanted to scream. Everyone stopped drinking the coffee, Vreck shouted, and was immediately horrified that he had to shout that sentence in the first place. 3 guards froze mid-sip. Thrall slowly lowered his mug with the expression of someone whose dreams had just been crushed. Maya looked genuinely offended. Hey, the coffee is innocent in all this. Do not take your frustration out on the coffee. You are under arrest, Vreck said, pronouncing each word with the careful precision of someone clinging to sanity by a thread. This is not a social gathering. This is a legal detention. You have committed serious violations of station protocol. Okay, yes. Technically true, Maya admitted, finally setting down her own mug. But also, counterpoint, I fixed your station. You should be giving me a medal, not handcuffs. Although if the handcuffs are really nice ones, I guess I will accept them. Are they the padded kind? Because I have sensitive wrists. Jessin snorted, then tried to disguise it as a cough. Vreck turned his glare on his own team. You are all supposed to be detaining her, not attending her coffee hour. Sir, in fairness, she has not resisted, Norvik pointed out. And technically we are supposed to hear out station personnel before applying restraints according to Protocol 9-. Do not quote protocols at me right now, Vreck interrupted. Maya perked up. Oh, you guys have a protocol about listening first? See, that is good security work right there. Very professional. Earth security just shoots first and asks questions never. That cannot be true, Koto said. You would be horrified by what is true, Maya replied cheerfully. Vreck pressed his fingers against his temples. Miss Torres. Maya, please, Miss Torres is my mother, and she would also tell you I was right about the power grid. Maya, Vreck said with strained patience, you cannot simply modify critical station systems because you think you know better than certified engineers. But I do know better, Maya said, and there was not even a hint of arrogance in her voice, just absolute confidence. Look, I have been building and fixing things since I was 6 years old. My first science fair project was a solar-powered cooling system made from recycled parts. I have 3 advanced degrees in energy systems. I helped design the power grid for Luna Station 5, which serves 2 million people. And your station grid was, I am not exaggerating here, held together with hopes, prayers, and what I am pretty sure was actual duct tape in some sections. Plex raised his hand. Sir, I filed a report about Section 7 power fluctuations last month. Me too, Jessin added. 3 months ago. The lights in my quarters flicker every night at 2200 hours. Norvik contributed. Vreck looked at his mutinous team and wondered if it was possible to arrest everyone in the room, including himself. You know what, forget explaining. Let me just show you, Maya said, moving toward a control panel that was definitely jury-rigged with parts that definitely did not come from official station supplies. Seeing is believing, right? No, Vreck said immediately, because every single instinct in his body was screaming danger. No demonstrations, no touching anything. Step away from the panel. It will take like 30 seconds, Maya said, already typing commands. I will just bring up the before and after readings. You will see the efficiency improvements. Everyone will feel silly about the whole arrest thing. We can all have more coffee. Boom. Problem solved. Step away from the panel, Vreck repeated, reaching for his restraints. Okay, fine, just let me close this submarine first or the display will freeze and… Maya hit one more button. The entire room hummed. Not a gentle hum. Not a normal mechanical hum. A hum that vibrated in their bones and made the air taste like copper and made every guard in the room immediately regret their career choices. Maya said. Vreck shouted. What do you mean, Okay, so that was not supposed to happen, Maya said, staring at her panel where several indicators had just turned bright orange. That is weird. Hang on. The holographic display flickered, expanded, and suddenly they were looking at a real-time feed of power flowing through Section 7. Except the power was not flowing normally. It was surging, pulsing in waves that looked frankly biological, and several junction points were starting to glow, actually glow, with visible light. Were those supposed to do that? Thrall asked, his voice climbing an octave. Define supposed to, Maya said, typing frantically. Okay, I see the problem. When I initialized the display, it accidentally triggered a feedback loop in the buffer sequence, which is fine, totally fine, I can fix this. Accidentally? Kato backed toward the door. The humming got louder. The lights in the engineering base started flickering in rhythm with the power surges on the display. Somewhere in the distance, an alarm began wailing. Station-wide alert. Power fluctuation detected in Section 7. A calm automated voice announced. Engineering teams respond to your stations. Oh, that is not good, Jessen said. Everyone remain calm, Maya shouted over the noise which historically has never once helped anyone remain calm. I just need to resequence the load balancer and reinitialize the distribution matrix. One of the junction points on the display flared bright white. Norvik dropped his coffee mug. It shattered on the floor in slow motion, brown liquid spreading across the deck, plating like a tragic metaphor for this entire situation. My coffee, Plex yelled, devastated. Forget the coffee. We need to evacuate. Vreck grabbed Maya's arm. Now. I am not evacuating, I am fixing this. Maya shook him off and dove under her workbench, emerging with what looked like a handheld device covered in blinking lights and questionable wiring. If I can just bypass the primary node and force a manual reset. What is that? Thrall demanded. Emergency override controller, Maya said. That is a tablet strapped to a power drill with electrical tape. Jessing observed with the horrified fascination of someone watching a disaster unfold. Same thing, Maya insisted. She pointed the device at a wall panel and Vreck realized with cold horror that she was going to. She pressed the trigger. The drill whirred. Sparks flew. The humming reached a crescendo that made their teeth hurt. And then suddenly, silence. The lights stabilized. The alarms cut off mid-wail. The holographic display showed power flowing smoothly through every conduit, perfectly balanced, color-coded in happy greens and blues instead of angry oranges and reds. Maya stood there, slightly singed, holding her drill tablet contraption, grinning like she had just won a prize instead of nearly causing a station-wide catastrophe. See? She said brightly. Totally under control. Vreck stared at her. Then at his team. Then at the spilled coffee spreading across the floor. Then back at Maya. You are under arrest, he said weakly. Yeah, okay, that is fair, Maya admitted. The door burst open for the second time that afternoon and Station Administrator Kelth stormed in with the energy of someone who had just run through 15 corridors expecting to find carnage and chaos. Instead, he found 5 security guards standing around a spilled coffee puddle. One human engineer holding a drill with a tablet taped to it, and the distinct smell of fresh brewing coffee hanging in the air. Report, Kelth demanded, his respiratory vents flaring. I have alarms screaming across 3 sections, reports of unauthorized power surges, and engineering teams preparing for a full-scale evacuation. What is happening? Everyone pointed at Maya. Maya waved. Hi, Administrator Kelth. Want some coffee? I should probably make a fresh pot since Norvik dropped his, and there is a tragic waste of perfectly good caffeine on the floor right now. Kelth's scales flushed purple, which Vreck had learned meant he was either about to yell or have a stroke, possibly both. You, Kelth said, pointing at Maya with one trembling finger. You are the human engineer who has been filing modification requests for 3 weeks straight. That is me, Maya confirmed cheerfully. And you are the administrator who has been rejecting them for 3 weeks straight, which is why we are in this situation. You went around proper channels, Kelth said. Proper channels were taking too long and your power grid was approximately 15 minutes away from a cascade failure, Maya said, and her tone shifted from cheerful to serious so fast it gave everyone whiplash. So yeah, I went around proper channels, because proper channels do not mean much when everyone is about to suffocate in the dark. 15 minutes? Thrall said. Sir, the fluctuations we reported were symptoms of a much bigger problem. Maya pulled up a new display, this one showing historical data. Look, see this degradation curve? Your primary junction has been slowly failing for months. Every power surge, every flicker, every weird hum, that was the system trying not to collapse. You were sitting on a ticking time bomb, and everyone was just filing reports and waiting for approvals while the countdown kept ticking. The room went very quiet. Kelth moved closer to the display, his earlier anger shifting to something that looked uncomfortably like concern. This data is accurate? I pulled it straight from your monitoring systems, Maya said. The ones that apparently nobody actually monitors. If that junction had failed, and it would have failed, probably sometime next week based on these projections, you would have lost life support, environmental controls and gravity to 40% of the station. Simultaneously. Do you know what happens when you lose gravity and habitation sections without warning? Chaos, Jessin whispered. Injuries, probably deaths. Definitely lawsuits, Maya continued. So, yeah, I broke some rules. I bypassed some protocols. I did not wait for 17 levels of approval and 6 committee meetings. I fixed the problem before it became a catastrophe. She crossed her arms. You can arrest me if you want, but the station is safe now and you are welcome, by the way. Kelth stared at the data for a long moment. Then he looked at Vreck. Inander, did you offer this woman coffee before attempting to arrest her? Sir, she offered us coffee. Vreck said tiredly. Of course she did, Kelth muttered. The official report filed by Commander Vreck that evening became the most downloaded document in Sentinel Station Kappa history within 48 hours. It included phrases like, quote, subject offered beverages during attempted arrest, unquote, and quote, demonstration resulted in minor power surge and catastrophic coffee spillage, unquote, and quote, modifications prevented station-wide systems failure that would have occurred within estimated 8 to 12 days. That last part was confirmed by 3 independent engineering teams who spent 2 days analyzing Maya's work and grudgingly admitted that not only had she been correct, but her fixes were actually better than what they would have designed given 6 months and a proper budget. The official response from Station Command was a formal reprimand placed in Maya Torres' personnel file for violation of protocols, unauthorized system access and failure to follow proper requisition procedures. The UN official response was Chief Engineer Bront buying her drinks at the station bar and asking if she would look at the environmental recycling system because it had been making weird noises for a year. Maya's efficiency booster became standard equipment. They just renamed it a dynamic load optimization module so it sounded official and nobody had to admit a human had invented it in her spare time using spare parts and Audacity. Station Administrator Kelth issued a new directive. All human engineering suggestions were to be reviewed within 72 hours instead of being automatically flagged for extended committee analysis. He did not admit this was because of Maya. He did not have to. Everyone knew. 3 weeks after the incident, 4 more human engineers transferred to the station. Vreck saw them arrive and immediately filed for a transfer. The transfer was denied. His second-in-command, Thrall, now kept a coffee maker in the security office. He claimed it was for alertness during long shifts. Vreck suspected it was because Thrall had become quietly addicted to the stuff and was too proud to admit it. Norvik had started a coffee club. It met twice a week. Membership was growing at an alarming rate. Maya continued to file modification requests, except now she also just fixed things and filed the paperwork after, which technically was still against protocol, but somehow nobody seemed to have the energy to stop her anymore. She had also started teaching an unofficial class on human engineering philosophy, which apparently boiled down to, if it is broken, fix it, if it is not broken, improve it, and if someone tells you it cannot be done, then do it anyway and apologize later if necessary. Vreck watched from his office as Maya walked past his window, coffee mug in one hand, some kind of tool in the other, chatting animatedly with 2 Centaurian mechanics who were nodding along like she was revealing the secrets of the universe. Which Vreck supposed maybe she was. He pulled up the transfer request form again. Station Command denied it again, faster this time like they were expecting it. Vreck sighed and went to get some coffee. He hated that he liked it. Officer Rinnak stood at attention in the security briefing room. Fresh from the transport shuttle, eager to begin his assignment on Sentinel Station Kappa. This was his first posting at a multi-species facility, and he was determined to make a good impression. Commander Vreck looked tired, more than tired. He looked like someone who had aged several years in a matter of weeks. "Welcome to the station," Vreck said without enthusiasm. "Before you begin standard duties, there are some additional protocols you need to understand. Specifically human protocols." Vreck nodded eagerly. "Sir, I completed all 17 volumes of human behavioral study. I am fully prepared to interact with human personnel according to regulation." "Right. Great. Wonderful," Vreck said flatly. "Forget all of that." "Sir?" Vreck pulled up a document on the main display. It was titled, in very large letters, "Things They Do Not Teach You About Humans, a Survival Guide by Commander Vreck." "Lesson 1, Vreck began. "If a human offers you something called coffee, you have two choices. Accept it and become dependent on it for the rest of your life, or refuse it and spend every morning wondering what you are missing. There is no good option." Vreck blinked. "Sir, I do not." Lesson 2. "If a human says, and I quote, 'This will only take a second,' unquote, prepare for it to take anywhere from 5 minutes to 3 hours. They have no concept of time." Lesson 3. "If a human says, quote, 'Trust me,' unquote, start writing your incident report early because you will need it later." Lesson 4. "Humans do not understand the phrase, 'That is not possible.' To them, impossible just means, nobody has tried hard enough yet." Vreck pressed a button, and a photo appeared. Maya Torres grinning at the camera holding a coffee mug that said, "I void variant." "This," Vreck said with the gravity of someone delivering terrible news, "is Maya Torres. She is brilliant. She is terrifying. She has saved this station at least twice that we know of. If she offers to fix something for you, say yes, but also prepare yourself emotionally for whatever is about to happen." "She seems nice," Vreck offered. "That is what makes her dangerous," Vreck said. A proximity alert chimed. Vreck glanced at his monitor and groaned. "She is rerouting power conduits in Section 12 again." Through the briefing room window across the corridor and down one level, Maya's workshop was visible. As if on cue, she appeared at her own window, saw them watching, and raised her coffee mug in a cheerful salute. Vreck did not salute back. "Welcome to the station, Officer Vreck," he said wearily. "May whatever gods you believe in have mercy on your soul." In her workshop, Maya took a sip of her coffee, grinned, and got back to work. Somewhere in the station, something started humming. It was going to be a long day. Again.